Hi everybody, hope you're enjoying the last few hours of Labor Day weekend. I'm coming to you from my outdoor location, enjoying this fine weather. I appreciate all the work that everybody did last week on their first round of GR1s, and they looked good. I liked what Group 1 did, especially to use that liberal quotation practice of each other's RRs. And I really liked Group 2's discipline about coming in by Wednesday and then coming in again by Friday and kind of keeping the conversation going. In Group 3 you're doing well as well. You're just a touch smaller than the other groups, so you might want to use some of those strategies that I suggested to you about maybe sending out a scout to the other groups on a pretty regular basis and also using some of that quotation of each other's work. The next stage, of course, is to spend this week doing the second go-round of GR work, and very good example of how to kind of puzzle out some meanings that you're collaboratively having some difficulty with or some disagreement about came from Group 2 this time around on the possible addressees in the poem Before the Birth of One of Her Children, the Bradstreet poem. I enjoyed watching that exchange as you kind of arrived at some conclusions about the person that she might be addressing it to. I've always kind of felt it was probably the husband, but I appreciated seeing the other possibilities that some of you floated. And I think there's some of that going on in the Harriet and the Smith from last week. But the big focus after the GR exchange will be for the RR3 on Sunday, on the sort of the New England version of what we just looked at from the Chesapeake region, from the Virginia region. We move our attention to the New England settlements with Winthrop, who will remind you a little bit of Harriet and Smith. And then we have Rowlandson, Mary Rowlandson's piece, which is the first of several captivity narratives that we'll be looking at over the course of the semester. Rowlandson is certainly a return to the kind of coded female writing of the time, of the 17th century, that I think you'll recognize from Bradstreet, where they're trying to convey messages in a sort of semi-public way, at least to their family and to their close friends, of a religious nature, at a time when they're really not supposed to be preaching, certainly from the pulpit, and so they have to kind of exert their kind of spiritual influence behind the scenes. And I think you'll notice too that Bradstreet and Rowlandson, both of their writing is framed by sort of male sponsors. If you go back to that biographical intro head note on Bradstreet, you notice that her brother-in-law in London had to kind of argue for her poems. And if you go to the preface of Rowlandson that will appear at the beginning of her narrative, you'll notice that that's written by, we think, probably Increase Mather, who was a very prominent theologian at the time. So it's interesting to note how these women writers had to almost be introduced to the public in order to even have their work even be seen as remotely legitimate. So you might play with that a little bit as well.